So I am really pleased to get the opportunity to welcome our guest preacher today, Reverend Susan Frederick-Gray. Susan is one of our three candidates for president of our Unitarian Universalist Association. And some of you might have been here when I mentioned it in a sermon back in September. We're going to be voting on our president for the UUA in June at General Assembly, and maybe our whole youth group will be there, maybe, I hear, if you go to their pancake breakfast and donate lots of money. So Susan is one of the three presidential candidates. She also currently serves as lead minister of the UU congregation of Phoenix, Arizona. So she's come a long way to be in New England this week. She's a lifelong Unitarian Universalist who has provided leadership to congregations in all 5 regions of our UUA, including leading significant growth into the 2 congregations that she served as settled minister. In 2012, Susan worked for the UUA to lead the vision and implementation of the first ever Justice General Assembly in Phoenix. Susan received her MDiv from Harvard Divinity School and a Bachelor of Science in Molecular Biology from the University of Wisconsin-Madison. So your life has taken a turn since then. So welcome, Susan. We are delighted to have you with us. Now I want to invite you all to take a moment of silence as we center ourselves for the service.
Beautiful. I am so delighted to be here. Let me tell you that your reputation as a religious community precedes you in positive and wonderful ways. And I've been in New England for this past week, and I've been hearing about how vibrant and strong this community is, and your ministry, your shared ministry with your fabulous minister, Allison Palm, is. So it is just my complete honor to meet all of you and to be here with you this morning. And I know your theme of the month is story. And so the children's story I shared was the story of a young girl finding her true self and how that saved her life. And now I want to share with you a story about a Unitarian Universalist congregation on a similar kind of journey. So once upon a time, in the not too distant past, there was a UU congregation that had been through many difficult years. As beautiful as our theology is, our congregations are made up of, well, human beings. Our ministry is made up of human beings. Beautiful, struggling, hopeful, imperfect human beings. And as such, we can all fall into poor ways of dealing with conflict, different habits that happen and grow in our community. So this was a congregation that was experiencing the challenges of human community. In their past, they had had conflicts with ministers, division among members, and this led to anxiety in the system. They got stuck in patterns of mistrust. And so for more than a decade, they were in this kind of cycle. Now, of course, there was caring and deep commitment and friendship and wonderful potlucks and things like that, but there was a lot of challenge. And then a lay leader of the congregation, a member of the board of trustees, began asking a question. He asked, what would happen if our congregation simply disappeared? Would it make any difference? Would anyone even notice? Now that's a powerful question that gets to the heart of the mission of the congregation. And so with that question and the vision that was alive in the hearts of other members of the congregation, this community that had struggled so long arguing with itself realized that it had a larger purpose and it needed to get to it. So, as one lay leader put it, we realized that we needed to do this community thing better. We needed to be a stronger and healthier congregation because it does matter, and not just to us. Our presence in the wider community matters. So with this sense of purpose, they created a mission and a strategic plan aimed at growth and vitality and health. They had just one overarching goal for their plan, and that was to become a beloved community. Now, Dr. Martin Luther King talked about the beloved community, and he described it as a community that is both radically inclusive in its welcome to all people, but also a community that cares about justice and human dignity beyond its own walls. So that lived at the heart of this community. And to achieve this vision, they set a strategic course to strengthen their practice of covenant and right relationship. And they set goals that included collaboration across ministries. They intentionally went about the work of moving beyond individualism and silos of power to gather around a common mission and vision. It was at this time that I met this congregation with this fire in its belly about how much it mattered that they be a healthy, vibrant, liberal religious community. It was the UU Congregation of Phoenix, which I've been blessed to serve now in my 9th year. They inspired me, and together we have continued to nurture in the heart of that congregation a vision of a multicultural, multi-generational religious community committed to the spiritual growth of its people and the advancement of love and justice beyond our walls. Now, I share this story because conflict is something that many congregations experience, and it is certainly something that our wider Unitarian Universalist Association has experienced. And yet something powerful happens when people realize a stronger purpose for themselves. And this happens in individuals, like it did for Janie, but it also happens within institutions and communities. In times of change, anxiety, conflict, it is natural for people to experience fear and anxiety. Institutions can grow isolated, focus on preserving what they know, forgetting that in times of change and uncertainty, more is needed of us. More leadership, more love, more hope. Mission and purpose call us out of self-centeredness, out of fear, to a larger commitment beyond the self. And friends, in this moment, on our planet, in our nation, more is needed of us as Unitarian Universalists. This is a time of dramatic change across the planet. I've heard this time likened to periods like the Protestant Reformation. Now, the Protestant Reformation was a time of dramatic change in borders, in religion, in governments, that at least in part can be traced back to the advent of the printing press. Today's printing press is the internet and social media. We only need to look at the Arab Spring to see how this technology is creating radical change in parts of the globe. Add to this the stresses that come with global climate change, and it is clear that we are in a period of both great tension and a period of great opportunity. Periods of great change can be destabilizing, as well as characterized by powerful resistance to change. And we see these dynamics clearly playing out in our own political election this season. This is not an easy time, and much seems uncertain. And yet, more than ever in this time, we need vital spiritual communities that keep our hearts open, that guide us to respond to uncertainty not with fear, but with love and with partnership and a willingness to reach out. We need communities that help us to practice and embody that beloved community, that both seeks a radical welcome of one another as well as a commitment to greater justice beyond our own lives. So how do we answer this call? How do we bring the strength and capacity of our values to show up more fully in this time, in our lives, and in our world? Well, in his essay, The I Church Revealed, and that's like lowercase I, like iPhone, iPad, iPod, the I Church, Fred Muir talks about the dangers of three things that have come to define us as Unitarian Universalists, and he calls these the Trinity of Errors for we non-Trinitarians. The Trinity of Errors, he says, that have come to define Unitarian Universalism are individualism, exceptionalism, that's, thinking we have the best religion or the best perspective, and our allergy to authority. That resonates. So Muir challenges Unitarian Universalists that we've got to move beyond these errors if we are to effectively respond and lead in these tumultuous times. So I seek three clear ways that we move beyond these errors. Number one, it's about spiritual vitality in our communities. Number two, it's about being grounded in partnership with others. And number three, it's about being organized for impact. Let me say a little bit about each of these. So spiritual vitality. First and foremost, Unitarian Universalists, we are a religious tradition that places covenant, community, how we live together at the heart of our practice of our faith. We are not concerned with individual salvation, but rather with the care and well-being of the whole. We cannot live this theology separate from healthy and vibrant religious communities that embody that covenant. And vitality grows out of a sense of mission that moves us beyond individualism and beyond individual preferences to really see that we have collective work to do together. One of the most profound changes we can make to nurture vitality in our communities is to shift our language and thinking around who owns the congregation. Because of our congregational polity and theological diversity, no one tells us how to run our congregations. But what happens is people come to say the members are the owners of the congregation, right? Well, I want to challenge you that we are not the owners of our congregations, that they are a gift that we've been entrusted with, and that we have a responsibility and accountability to make sure that this gift and these values live on for those who will come after us, and that it is not we who own our congregation, but it is the mission of our congregations that owns us and that we are accountable to. And I believe shifting our language around that and realizing that as members, our responsibility is to help our communities live this mission more powerfully in the world, that will help us gain a greater sense of vitality and health. In this time of growing disconnection and heartbreak, our communities can and need to be places of connection and collective resiliency, as well as courage and compassion. We need communities of real spiritual growth that teach people of all ages to stretch our hearts beyond fear, to stretch our lives beyond consumerism, to stretch our thinking beyond tribe and even beyond nation, to a deep compassion for all humanity and creation. This is our mission, living these values, and this is what owns us and holds us. Number two, we need to be about partnership. Let's be honest, Unitarian Universalism does struggle with exceptionalism. We can think that we have the best, most enlightened perspective on religion as well as on various political issues, right? But this exceptionalism no longer serves our faith. It keeps us insular and it blinds us to the strengths and values of other cultures and ways of doing things. Partnership is key to developing humility and seeing beyond one perspective, to a deeper understanding of our fundamental interdependence across this planet. And the fact is, the challenges of this moment, from racial injustice to economic inequality to global climate change, we cannot confront these issues alone. We have to work with others. We need to strengthen our partnerships across our UU congregations, as well as reaching beyond Unitarian Universalism. It's already our strength that we name interdependence as one of our 7 principles, but it's time that we see this not just a description of how we are related to the planet, but how we are related to the global human family. And finally, number 3, we need to be organized for impact. When the Unitarian Universalist Association made the decision in the face of the most punitive anti-immigrant law that this country has seen in generations, SB 1070, in my own state of Arizona, and the General Assembly made the decision not to boycott Arizona, but to answer the invitation from migrant and immigrant rights groups to come to Phoenix and organize a Justice General Assembly, we said we would go, but we would not do business as usual. What does that say about our business as usual? That we need to set it aside if we want to make a difference, right? This is not a business as usual moment. Joanne Macy, environmentalist who's also a Buddhist, writes about we've got to move beyond business as usual, because business as usual is draining our planet's resources. So this is not a business as usual time. We need to be asking, how can we effectively show up and live our values in the world? We must preserve the strongest and healthiest aspects of who we are, but be willing to let go of some processes and things that no longer serve us, that lock up our capacity in confusing systems of power and help us actually move forward together. Fred Muir says we, as Unitarian Universalists, have an allergy to authority. Now, I know that this isn't true in every community or congregation, but it has been true across our association, certainly for some time. What this does is it invites us to create overly complicated processes that impact and undermine mission. Rather than an allergy to authority, we need to model and embrace authentic, collaborative, and transparent models of power. It is absolutely true that we have many examples of abuses of power. I live in Maricopa County. I've been fighting Sheriff Joe Arpaio for 8 years. I know about abuses of power. On the other hand, I know the people who serve our faith do so because they love our congregations and because they believe in what is possible for our faith in this time. And so we need to be cautious when we create systems of distrust among within our own religious community, because that undermines our capacity to work together to make a difference in our lives and the world. In these challenging times, more than ever, we need the power of collective voices, and leadership is critical to amplifying that voice, that collective voice. I began to feel the call to run for UUA president at the close of Justice General Assembly. I worked for the association on that effort, working with the board and the staff, the General Assembly Planning Committee, all of our identity-based ministries. And when I saw how powerful we could be when we set aside business as usual and were focused on a clear vision, that's when I realized we could do more, that we had more love, more hope, more leadership to offer in this time. Today, too many people are leaving religious communities and institutions in general because they fail to see their relevance for the real challenges that confront us. But Unitarian Universalism matters. The quality of our communities matter. We have a life-saving, life-changing message to offer to children, to families, to adults, to the communities in which we reside. I know that we can unlock the radically inclusive, justice-centered spiritual depth of our faith and live it more fully and boldly in the world. This is a defining moment of great change and of great opportunity, and we have a critical moral and religious voice to embody in this time. We are called, more than ever, to be a vital voice for love and for justice. It is my prayer that we may be the people that we are called to be.